Hey everyone. Boy, Trudeau's been busy out there showing his true colors, right? And I'm not just talking about black or brown face. I'm pointing out the hypocrisy that seems to exude from his every pore. And when it comes to putting a price on carbon or taxing basically everything we do or consume under the pretense or the auspices of just trying to defend the environment, oh yeah, he's a hypocrite there as well. Surprise, surprise. Headline out of the National Post: the problem with trying to buy a clean conscience with carbon offsets. In defense of using two campaign planes, Trudeau said his party purchased offsets for both planes and their buses to mitigate environmental damage. Right? So as if, hey, if you got enough money, right? Hey, why take one yacht? Or why take one plane? Or why drive one car? You could get a whole entourage of people driving around if you got the money to supposedly offset all those carbon producing vehicles, right? Once again, this is just a perfect example. Actually, I love seeing these kind of examples come to light because it just, I mean, a lot of Canadians, I get it. They're like, I don't know who to support. But listen, if this don't help you out in any way, to at the very least show that those who represent the political or the ruling establishment in this country, if you don't at least recognize at this point that they're all a bunch of hypocrites who are basically trying to economically enslave you and multiple generations to pay for their own sense of entitlement or their own perks that come with being part of that ruling establishment, then, well, I mean, I don't know what else to do to help you other than read articles such as this or point it out on a continuing and ongoing basis. This is being reported by Vanmala Subramaniam, October 3rd, 2019. Carbon offsets should not be relied upon as a loophole to justify carbon emissions, says environmental experts. Who's the expert? Greta? What's Greta think of this? Matter of fact, I would love to know what little Greta there, the one that the left seems to want to prop up, want to put out in the center stage, front and center, to be the target for proponents or adversaries to this climate alarmism or this climate change conundrum that the central planners have placed us all into. What would she say? What would she genuinely have to say? I would like to know. Not like it should matter to me, because personally, let me just let you know a little bit of info that, yeah, boy or girl, yeah, 16-year-olds, yeah, I don't usually, and nothing against them. I've raised a couple of them that were the teens as well. And I mean, there's some great things about being in teen years. I was in my teen years. We were all in our teen years. Some great things about being a teenager. But setting actual economic policy, right, on a global stage that affects the livelihoods of millions or ultimately billions of people, not necessarily a big fan of turning or pivot towards teenagers to learn anything about it, right? Or to get a proper stance or an education in regards to social and economic policies as it pertains to big government. But at the very least, since the left, those who are proponents of environmental alarmism, hey, what would she think? What would she have to say to Trudeau? And what would his response be? Inquiring minds want to know. The real danger with carbon offsetting is it allows us to say we are doing things we are not actually doing, said Kate Irvine, a professor of international development studies at St. Mary's University in Nova Scotia. For instance, with flying, you aren't lowering emissions overall just because you purchase carbon offsets. Scrutiny over carbon offsets as a mechanism to cancel out the carbon footprint from air travel comes as the Conservatives revealed Wednesday night that the Liberal Party was using not one, but two planes for the entirety of its campaign. In a statement released during the TVA French language debate, the Conservatives pegged Liberal leader Justin Trudeau as a high carbon hypocrite for lecturing everybody else on emissions but using two aircraft to campaign. In his defense, Trudeau said his party purchased carbon offsets for both planes and the Liberal buses to mitigate the environmental damage of his party's campaign travel. Oh, you mean, did they come from the taxpayers that you plundered? Right? Did you pay for that? Or did taxpayers or the unborn pay for that? But the president of the company that the Liberal Party purchased those carbon offsets from said that the offset mechanism is not the ultimate solution to the problem of carbon emissions. The ideal is not to emit carbon in the first place, said Sean Drigas, president of Bullfrog Power, a renewable energy provider. Liberals refuse to say how much they paid for the carbon offsets. Carbon offsets are a credit system of sorts for greenhouse gas reduction that can be purchased to compensate emissions. So anyways, folks, I'll place a link to this article in the description of the video below. But yeah, if you got your own money, well, I mean, it's not coming out of Trudeau's trust fund. I'm fairly certain of that, right? But even if you can plunder the economic prosperity of millions of other people to pay for it, in reality, it's just because you're buying these credits, you're not reducing the footprint, as this article is even alluding to, which, well, even just common sense reasoning and logic would allude to, is just because you can pay for it, right? So basically, this is, if you're an elitist or wealthy or rich, well, you don't have to worry about your carbon footprint because you could just buy offsets, right? Whereas if you're poor or one of those serfs, subjects, and slaves who represent the private sector blue collar class in this country, well, too bad for you. You actually got to pay a whole lot more for everything that you consume. Even if you just got to put food in your belly to go to work the next day, or a roof over your head, or keep heat in that house that gets really cold in the winter months in Canada, you're going to have to pay dearly for all that. Whereas Trudeau, well, he can just get everyone else to cover those costs for him. And it won't hamper or impede him in any way. Matter of fact, he can use 2 of those big jumbo jets flying around. One for him and his lackeys, and I guess another one for what? Their wardrobe? For the costumes? I don't know. But apparently, that's his minimal excuse that's needed is, hey, I paid some offset, some credit offset, so who cares about all the pollution I've introduced? At least I paid for it, right? Anyways, folks, like I say, the hypocrisy, it runs very, very deep in the Trudeau Liberals. And it starts all the way at the top and permeates all the way down to the bottom. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.